Right, so we're live with China Talk episode 2. So I've basically been, during my 3 months here, I've basically been just interested to see how different the social events are with young people. So for example, in my experience, at my age, a lot of people will meet at the pub. That's quite a common place. Whereas here I see Starbucks is quite a common place where people hang out, or drinks places. So I've been wanting to know more.
You mean people people in UK, they usually go to the pub to have social events. I mean, how old are they?
Probably starting around 18. Some people will be going to the pubs like from 17, but I mean legally it's 18. But from like 18 to 25, I'd say a lot of people that'll be like the meeting destination to watch sports or to play some darts or some pool. But that'll be quite a common meeting destination for young people.
So how old were you when the first time you went to the bar?
To a bar or a pub? Because have you got sort of a picture
let's
of
talk about the differences.
Yeah. So
bar and pub.
A pub is kind of like it's short for public house, right? So it's kind of just a renovated house type place, and it's quite comfortable with some chairs, and it'll have a bar. Whereas bars are kind of got a dance floor, and there'll be a lot more heavy drinking.
They're kind of a bit more trendy, aren't they?
Yeah. And it'll often be a night out that you'll go to the bar.
Okay, so bar is crazier than pub.
Yeah. And it'll be loud.
I'll take it this way.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons here, there's a lot more of these places like Haiti, Memory, Nazuki, where they're kind of like, they're drinks places, but they're not alcoholic drinks places.
Right.
So a lot of them are these kind of like fruit teas, you know, they do all these like fancy tea drinks. You go into like Haiti.
Just drink with some light music and chill there.
But most people are just drinking those kind of drinks, as opposed to where in the UK there's much more of a thing about alcoholic drinks.
I suppose there is, yeah. I'm
obviously a bit older than you two, but my opinion is that young people here seem to be a lot less interested in alcohol and getting drunk than young people in the UK. And I don't know, I mean, I think in the UK it's this thing, I'm 18, it's time to drink alcohol, so a lot of people go and they overdo it a bit.
So can I say that there are way more drunkard in the UK than China?
Yeah, I mean, if you walk around a big city sort of on a Friday night or a Saturday night, there are lots of young people who are pretty drunk. And some of them have had way too much alcohol.
However, the other side of that is, from when I've been out in China to bars, because people are introduced in the UK to alcohol much sooner, I think everyone has the stage where they don't know their limits to start with. So here I quite often see people mid-20s or early mid-20s that are overly drunk, like
you mean
super drunk, because maybe because they're like a bit later to it, that they don't quite know, how much to drink, or they get a bit carried away because it's like a new, I don't know.
Exactly, actually, I'm the living proof. Before I went to my university, it was forbidden in my family for me to drink. Every time I tried to drink even some beer, even some Budweiser, my dad said no to me. Definitely.
What age were you at this point?
Sorry?
What age were you at this point?
Before I went to my university.
Okay.
So that's younger than 18 years old.
Yeah.
And then I went to my university, but I found many people, they drink there, and I started to drink. And I don't know, as you said, I don't know the limit.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I can drink.
Yeah.
I often get blackout.
Yeah.
And next day I woke up in my dormitory. I don't even know how I got back.
Like a real. These are the experiences that everyone kind of has to go through to find, what's comfortable for them. And I think everyone, no matter what the culture is, goes through this point. But I think it tends to be a little bit earlier on in the UK than it does maybe here, because I don't see that a lot of Chinese people go to clubs, but there are, but maybe in proportion to how many people do.
My experience of that, in Shanghai, Guangzhou, which tends to have a little bit more nightlife than here in Shenzhen, especially Shanghai. A majority of the clubs and bars, I'd say more than 50% of the people there would be foreigners. And even now I go to a bar and you see some young Chinese people there, and they really they like fish out of water there. It's like, oh, not really sure how to behave, you know, many of them have no idea how to dance. And I'll often see very young girls that here in China, they do these sort of beer things where they deliver them to your table. It's like a huge thing. You might have 6 litres of beer or whatever. And I'll see like a table with like 2 young girls who look about, 24, 25, and they'll order one of these because they haven't really got much of an idea. And it's like they either realise they can't drink it and you see them leave and there's like 3/4 of it in there. Or another instance I've seen where they've almost forced themselves to drink it because they've paid for it, and then like 10 minutes later you see them by the side of the road like throwing up because they really don't know. And the other thing, actually, beer is a lot weaker here than in the UK. Like the big beer here, Qingdao, I don't know what the
that one is actually quite similar to the ones back home, but I've seen I've looked on the labels of brands that we recognise from home, and they're often like the percentage is cut quite a lot for the beers here, like Budweiser and stuff like that. It's quite a lot lower. One difference I've seen in bars and clubs here that makes me kind of laugh, that's different to the UK, is that people will often have too much drink at a table here, whereas in the UK people will always be trying to get drinks from other people because they're so expensive and no one wants to buy them. So it's like a running joke that like people will try and get everyone else to buy a round of drinks. But here there's always buckets and bottles of spirits, and like people will leave tables with massive jugs left, and I'm thinking,
let's say
you could come here for free.
Yeah, exactly.
Go around the tables.
Let's say how much for one bottle of Budweiser in the UK?
It's usually going to be like £5-6, which is probably like.
Yeah, actually, I think we need to make a
£6.
distinction here, though, because actually, alcohol is actually more expensive here if it's imported alcohol.
Yeah.
So if you go to a bar and you drink the local beer, then it's a lot cheaper. If you want to drink something like a Corona or a little bit Guinness, for example, I remember in Shanghai, and this is going back maybe 6 or 7 years, Guinness was like £7 to £8 a pint in bars there because it's an import. Corona's like £4 to £5 a bottle there, whereas in England it is obviously quite expensive if you're in a nice bar. I've been to bars in London where a bottle of Budweiser has been £6. Now this is some years ago, a bit more now. But generally, if it's local beer, it's a lot cheaper. But the only other thing that is an issue here as well, some bars they will sell spirits which seem quite cheap. And obviously, always in the back of your mind is that, are they genuine? There's a lot of copy alcohol sold here. I know, of people who've become really ill. People who can drink quite a lot, and yet they've gone to a bar in China and not drank anywhere near as much as they'd normally drink in the UK, but actually been quite ill because there's a lot of fake alcohol. I've seen videos, even people have made fake Budweiser.
But you don't have fake alcohol back home in the UK?
There is, but it's not usually in pubs and clubs. Well, it could be, but I think it's a lot less of a problem than it is here.
Let's go back to our topic. So usually, like my cousin is in his high school. He's only 16 years old. For him, it's totally forbidden to go to a bar or a pub. It doesn't matter if it's a pub or a bar. It's totally forbidden. If my uncle or my aunt, his parents know this, they're gonna slap him probably.
Okay, so it's really like a big no to do this. So do you kind of feel like you need your do most people need their parents' permission before they can go to these places?
I think there is no way for you to get permission from your parents.
Right.
That comes down though to that here. There's much more of a overbearing focus from the parents about study.
Exactly. Exactly.
For young people, it's all about study harder, study harder, study harder. You know, you're not allowed to have a social life. Just study, study, study. And
you know, here in Chinese parents' opinion, they think alcohol is very harmful for students' brain.
Right,
if they drink too much alcohol, they become stupid. They can't do well in study.
Yeah, it's quite funny that is, because you're probably aware we have a lot of university students, Chinese university students in the UK, and like a lot of sort of English students at university, a lot of, certainly the first year, maybe the first couple of years, a lot of it's all about partying, going out, getting drunk, drinking loads of alcohol. But the Chinese students don't do that. It's like, oh, we need to stay in and study, and they don't go to the parties, and they, you know, it's very different, and that's obviously because of how their thinking is and how they're being brought up in China.
Oh, to be honest, if in the university, the first year, fresh year, people do party.
Yeah.
Like we get rid of our parents.
So,
so we live in another city, perhaps live in a dormitory. Nobody care about what we do every day. So usually in my university, I often hang out with my friends to drink, and usually I get drunk. I totally got drunk, and I don't even know how I get back to my dormitory.
Maybe this is the difference between being in a Chinese university. Everyone will kind of party and have, you know, because they're away from their parents. But when they've come to England and the difference in culture and all of these other things around that, they kind of stick to themselves and stick to what they're used to and studying really hard. And from when I've been to friends' universities, I often have found that some Chinese people can feel quite secluded, and maybe it's down to the language barrier and the culture difference.
I think another reason is most of those students know their family have invested a huge amount of money into it. You know, if you're a Chinese student studying abroad, you're either extremely lucky that you've got some government grant, or your family are pretty wealthy, because it is really pretty expensive. You know, it's not like a UK student where it's 9,000 and they're looking at 30,000 plus for the tuition fees. Then all the housing, you know, you're probably looking at, I don't know, 50, 60,000 pounds a year. So I think they might have that in the back of their mind, that they can't let their family down by failing, you know. So they'll work hard to get good grades, you know.
Yeah, they're really good students and good children. They will think this way.
Yeah.
But some of them, they get wasted every day.
Yeah,
they don't care about the money that their parents have invested.
Yeah, we know somebody like that, don't we? so yeah, but I think, you know, it is interesting that the way there's this difference, definitely.
But besides from that, anyway, so
we can talk about high school here.
Yeah. Okay.
Because university is totally different.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
High school, let's say, Lee. Did you allow Ollie to go to bar or pub when he was in his high school?
Not really. It's not something you encourage, but a lot of the young people will go. You know, many will try to get a false ID, because a lot of places, actually it is quite strict. For many decent bars and pubs, they will ask.
They check.
Because it's illegal to serve alcohol to under 18s in the UK.
Yeah. So it's Australia, I think.
Yeah. Well, the US is 21 actually, but in the UK it's 18. So, and actually, bars and pubs can get into a lot of trouble. They can have their license taken away from them if they're found to be doing so.
Yeah, I used to use my brother's
ID,
and he's 4 years older than me. So when I was 17, I was going in as 21.
So this is what.
Well, I don't think so.
No. I mean, you know, they're allowed quite a lot of freedom. Younger people are,
but
so they will obviously go and do
here
stuff.
Here in China, many bars they don't really check. They don't really check your ID card.
Right.
Yeah, as long as you look old enough, mature enough, you can just enter the bar and buy drinks.
But actually, am I right here in China? There's actually no age limit to drink alcohol. You don't have a law that prohibits.
No.
Yeah, so actually, you can drink alcohol at any age you want to if your parents.
Oh, is it different from the US, the UK?
Yeah. In the UK,
I mean, even at home.
Yeah,
even at home,
it's illegal for a minor to consume alcohol.
I don't think it is in your own home, but that doesn't matter anyway because
I'm not sure. I think
it's permit. Anyway, besides that, no, even in your own home, no one's gonna know. But out and about, you would never. Yeah, you have to show ID to show you that you're 18 or over to be able to buy it. One thing that I wanted to mention is you probably won't even know this, but really young people like 14. For me, it was 14 anyway, but 14 onwards, you have this. We call it year 10 and year 11, where like you're in a school where you've got quite a lot of older people with you, and there you see them all like, drinking or whatever. You're like, you want to be like these older people, right? So we used to go to a random field and set up tents and all just drink in a field and play some music out of speakers, and this is what like a lot of young people do, unless their parents go away on holiday, and then they'll have a house party. But if that's not a thing, then it'll be in a field.
Have you ever had the house party at your home?
No, I would never. Actually, I was one of the people who didn't even want to do that, because I'd just feel too responsible for anything that went wrong. Because some like stuff got broken and whatnot, and it wasn't a good time. How would you have you heard of any people having house parties here in China?
Not really, unless they're super rich.
Right.
Their house is like a castle, then they will have a house party. Otherwise, apartment, no.
Right.
It's too small.
But it's interesting that actually, other than a pub, I can't really think of any other meeting point that there would be unless it's at someone's house in England. Mm-hmm. But here, Starbucks is another example, or places to drink coffee. They're all off. In England, I don't know any coffee places that are open past like 7 or 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Whereas here I see Starbucks or Luckin is open until like 11, maybe midnight at the weekend.
I think
and friends will hang out, and it's kind of a dating place as well.
Yeah. I think that's because that depends on people's habits. I mean, Chinese people, we like to hang out to very late, 11, 12 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it's okay, acceptable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but for you guys, maybe 11, 12 is very, very late. No, you can barely see anyone on the streets. Mm-hmm. But here in China, it's pretty common. People hang out at 11. Sometimes I go out to hang out with my friends at 10 p.m. and I come home at 1 or 2 next day in the morning. So that's why perhaps before Starbucks they came to China, and they usually close at 7, 8 p.m. But here they can't do that.
Yeah, because they just lose so much business.
Yeah, the busiest hours usually is after 8 p.m., 9 p.m. So that's why.
Yeah, I see a lot of these places like Haiti, 8, 9 o'clock, they're absolutely mega packed with young people.
Yeah, because people, they get off work at 6:30 p.m.
Well, I think a lot of people actually end up getting off work later than that here.
Sure.
So it's normally more probably 7:30, 8 o'clock.
And then
because they travel a lot further.
Well.
Yeah.
So they may finish work at 6:30. It's probably 7:30, 8 o'clock before many of them get back to near their home or to their friends.
Yeah, here we have come to another point, is that I usually hear people say if you go travel to the UK or the USA or Australia, when it's after 7 or 6 p.m., you can barely see anyone on the streets, and all the shops, they are closed.
Yeah, all the shops are closed.
The first time I heard this, I was so surprised. I was like, what? Then what do you do? What do you guys do for fun? Because here in China, after 6 or 7 p.m. that's the
busiest time,
the right time for us to have fun.
And it makes sense, really.
Yeah, I've gone out sometimes to shopping centres or like shopping areas, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm thinking, my God, it's so busy.
Full.
It's like busier than back in the UK at like midday.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
because usually staying at home is so boring. What do you guys do at home?
Well, I think that's down to that. In China, for most ordinary young Chinese, right, especially ones in the city, actually staying in their home is not an attractive proposition, because a lot of them are just renting a single room in an apartment. Yeah, so where a lot of younger people in the UK, especially if they come from sort of, you know, a sort of more of a better background, like a more of a middle classy, they will have a nice house. You know, it's a
probably
very
still
nice
be living with their parents.
Yeah,
as well.
probably still be living with their parents. But here, a lot of young people, they move to a city, so a lot of them are not living with their parents. So they're renting a very basic room. So it's actually maybe quite depressing for them to sit in the room. So they go out. Whereas
that's one reason.
Yeah.
But you know what? Back in my hometown, Luoyang, which is a third-tier city, still got very busy. The streets got very busy after 9 p.m.
Well, does it tie into the weather as well, do you think? Because half of the year in England, no one wants to be outside.
Because it's too cold?
Yeah. So maybe this ties into it too.
So what do you guys do at home? I mean,
actually, I think
after you have dinner.
I'll often
you
just meet at friends' houses, and we'll just, you know, relax together.
So you guys will go to another
someone's
person's
house. Yeah, go to someone's place and hang out there.
And what do you do at your friend's house?
Just typical stuff. Just be amongst each other, just chatting and whatnot. Maybe put some music on, stuff like that.
Okay.
But I see there's one thing I wanted to touch on as well, is that food is a really kind of big thing here, especially more amongst young people as well, amongst everyone. But I would rarely have a meal out with my friends in England, whereas I see here it's quite common. I've actually seen even like 13-year-olds, 5 of them around a table having a meal together, and I've just never seen that before in England.
Really, that's interesting, because here it's so popular to have dinner, to have lunch with friends, because according to Chinese tradition, whatever you talk about with your friends, you need to have some delicious foods with you. Otherwise, it will be too bland. Yeah,
I see what you mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I like that because I'm a food lover myself, so I could get used to that one.
Yeah, and you know, to eat out here in China, in Shenzhen, it's not very expensive if you you choose the common places. Usually 3 to 4 people cost you 200 to 250 kwai.
Okay, so maybe you're spending about, you can eat out for maybe 5 to 8 pounds, British pounds each
per person.
So
that's a whole different ball game in the UK. You know, for that kind of money, you're at KFC, you're at McDonald's, you're at Burger King.
As well as the time, actually, I've noticed that some restaurants will put like a sand timer on your table and say, look, if the food's not here in like 20 minutes, you get it for free, or 25 minutes. Whereas in England, any restaurant you're gonna be waiting, like you need to have at least an hour and a half in your pocket to eat at a restaurant, because it's going to take a long time.
Really?
So maybe
this
is kind of the reason.
Now I can understand.
You know, there's a lot of young people in the UK can't really afford to go out for meals, because it is
that's the main thing.
I'm pretty amazed here that 2 people can go out for a meal for less than £20.
It's so, and that's a good meal. Yeah, that's a really good meal.
If you want a cheap meal, 2 of you can get for like £5.
Yeah.
You know, less, but for a good meal at a reasonably sort of middle quality chain restaurant here, less than £20. You know.
Sure. It's not that expensive.
You're just not going to get that in the UK. You know, I know somebody in the UK who She worked at a hot pot restaurant. Okay, so there's Chinese people in England, hot pot restaurants. And actually, there's a lot of students that went there because most Chinese students in the big cities, they're all from wealthy families. Not all, but a lot of them are from wealthy families. So 4 people that go for hot pot, okay, in a UK restaurant owned by Chinese, it would be in excess of £120.
How
for
much?
those 4 people, £120. It's like over 1,000 RMB
For 4
for 4 people eating hot pot.
Okay.
So that just gives you an idea, and that's because, again, you know, we have things like minimum wage in the UK, so the salary's a lot higher and things like that. But just to give you an idea that, you know, if hot pot here was over 1,000 yuan for 4 people, I think many more young people here wouldn't go out to restaurants.
Never.
You know?
I'll give it a pass. It's too expensive.
And the other thing is KTV. I've been to one, but just explain to us what KTV is, because we have nothing that's even similar to this for young people anyway in the UK.
Really?
So what was KTV about?
KTV is a place where you can go sing, and you can buy some snacks in the store within the KTV, and usually people have party there.
Yeah.
And me and my girlfriend, sometimes we go to KTV to sing songs.
Yeah. So it's like a karaoke room, right?
Yeah, it's a karaoke room.
It's like if you can imagine a huge hotel, right, with 400 rooms, but every room is like a sort of performance booth where you have like speakers, you have music on demand that you sing along to. There'll be a huge screen there.
It's a good metaphor.
And these rooms, they can be from different sizes, from, you know, a room big enough for 4 people up to a room big enough for 20 or 30
mini
people.
room, small room, middle room, large room, and president house.
Oh wow, that sounds good.
Basically, you pay a fee to kind of rent that room for a period of time, maybe 3 hours, 5 hours, all night, you know, whatever. And then you just go there with your friends, eat snacks, have some drinks, and sing.
Do you really don't have these kind of places back home?
Actually, it's like a completely different take on it. Like,
we really don't.
Karaoke is seen as something like cringy for old people. Like, you just wouldn't catch any young people doing karaoke, which is why I thought I was so surprised when I came here and see that that's like a social event for people to drink to. Actually, I kind of like singing, and when you're drunk, when you're drinking, you lose that care about not being the best at singing. So it's kind of, I would enjoy it to go and just.
So what if you want to sing back home? Where do you go?
It's like nowhere. Like,
nowhere.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
So it's a good thing though.
Yeah, no, I actually like it a lot.
Actually, karaoke is something a lot of people do in their home in the UK.
Yeah.
They will either buy a small machine, or a lot of the video games consoles have karaoke, so you plug a couple of microphones and you buy the software to plug into your Xbox or your PlayStation.
So you guys sing at home.
Along.
You sing at home.
Yeah,
we don't have
any other people around.
It's nothing like China where there's these mega venues. You know
and
what I mean?
the difference I see, like massive difference I see, is that people aren't afraid to be bad at singing. Like, people will just do it. Whereas at home, I think anyway, everyone's kind of really shy about singing, because if you're not good, it's like you just think too much about what other people think. So. Whereas I've been to 1 or 2 here, and I see that everyone gets up, no matter how good they are. Like they'll give it their best shot, and fair play to them.
I find a lot of the girls here actually are really
quite good
singers.
Yeah, good singers. Yeah,
a lot of them really are.
I think that's because according to Chinese tradition, according to
Chinese tradition.
According to
on behalf of Chinese
Chinese tradition.
I think that's mainly because singing, it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
As long as you got your vocal, you got you can sing. It's not like some other instrument.
You should hear him. As long as you've got your vocal, I don't know about that one.
I'm absolutely terrible.
Tone deaf.
So everybody here in China, we started to sing at a really young age. I mean, not professionally sing or learn it. Just everybody. When you're chilling, you can sing. So that's why I think KTV is so popular here in China.
Yeah. I do think it's funny though, because a lot of the thing, like in England we have like lots of groups and rock bands and stuff like that. Here it all seems to be like ballads. There's young groups. They either seem to be I'm not aware of any like Chinese young groups. So they're like Korean, Taiwanese, they're from Hong Kong. There's no like, there doesn't seem to be any like young boy or girl bands that are Chinese. Is that?
We had some bands many years ago, but nowadays we don't have bands anymore. I mean, mainland bands.
Yeah.
There do some bands, but they are not as famous as pop singers.
Yeah.
So when I was a little kid, all the idols among my friends they were all singers. They were not bands. Probably there is one called 五月天, pretty famous bands, but the rest of them, they're all singers. So we think, when we were pretty young, we think, okay, to sing is a really, really nice thing. So we started to sing.
Does everyone sing from a young age when they're growing up?
And every time you see a team building activities in every company, new staff, they will have to perform their talent show.
Right.
And 90% of them choose to sing.
Oh, okay.
So for me, it's kind of boring now, because there is no surprise. They all sing. So that's why KTV is popular here, and it provides you a relatively private space for you and your friends.
So, sure.
As opposed to going out to a bar or something like this, it'll be a KTV night.
If a lot of those young people do go to KTV, say they're all, I don't know, 19, would they normally have alcohol there? Would they normally be drinking alcohol?
They will try to order some alcohol, some beer, if it is allowed in that KTV. Sure, because they just drink water. Some juice, Coca-Cola.
Actually, I find that compared to, if you go to the UK and lots of parts of Europe, most people who are sort of 17, 18 and 19, I would say 8 out of 10 will drink alcohol on a fairly regular basis. But here, it might be 1 or 2 in 10. That's quite that's a big difference. I feel here the young people are really just not into alcohol in the same way as they are in European countries.
I think that's because
why?
In most Chinese people's opinion, if you start to drink at a very young age, you will become a gangster or something.
Right. Saying that, I mean, that's kind of strange, because the other vice that people say is smoking. But I see a huge amount of young guys smoking.
Here in China?
Yeah.
Young guy, how young?
I see sort of 20s, in their 20s, I guess.
Just a big proportion of young
There's a lot
people.
more, I see a lot more what I consider younger people here smoking. Not so much girls, although in the last sort of 4 or 5 years I have seen many more girls smoking than I ever did before. When I first came to China, even in Shanghai, I rarely saw women smoking. Rarely, but there's a lot of young guys who smoke. Maybe I'm wrong here, but it seems to be that the young people from, let's say, more upper class backgrounds seem to smoke less than those from lower class backgrounds. Would that be?
To be honest, I think they're 50-50.
Okay.
And as far as I know, young people, the first time they tried to smoke was because they want to be different.
Right.
They want to show people around them their unique personality, their unique style.
Is it kind of still seen as a cool thing to do?
Yeah, they think it's a cool thing. So just like me, when I was in my middle school, I tried smoking, but I didn't like it, and I didn't think that's pretty cool. So I just give
that's
it
the
up.
best way to be. Yeah, definitely.
But the rest of my friends, some of them, they still think it's pretty cool. So they started to smoke at a very young age, and now they just can't get rid of
that addiction.
They're already addicted to it.
Yeah.
And they know it's very, very bad for their health, but they just can't help smoking.
Well, we've been going for a while now, so I think we'll wrap this up here. Lovely stuff.